Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Libra energy, and we're doing a 10 card spread this time, and we're going to look at it from a couple different perspectives because everybody out in the world has their own idea of what they think is just and fair, and we've either tempered our more shadowy nature, our fear, our insecurity, our pride, our ego, our lust, our greed, being more full of ourself. And some people have and some people haven't, and everybody's somewhere on the spectrum. But we all view life as being, the way we live our life as being just and fair, whether we're being an awful person in the world or we're being a loving, compassionate person in the world. And so how they'll harness this energy and is going to be different. So we're going to read it from those couple different perspectives. This could be something particularly going on for people who are a Libra sun sign or have significant Libra placements in their astrological chart. But in turn, it can affect us all because we all tap into Libra energy of what we think is just and fair. But if people are a Libra sun sign or have significant Libra placements, it could be something that more challenges them. So then in turn, we can kind of see how it could affect us all. Libra is air sign energy of the mind. Do we live more from our mind than our heart? Libra, right here in the Four of Swords, is represented by the scales of justice, but are we balanced or are we tipped out of balance? Do we indulge poor behavior in ourselves and others and say we think it's just and fair? High vibe energy is about learning lessons, becoming more independent of your more worldly, shadowy, egoic nature, to be enlightened to the truth that it's about love. Over here we have the Two of Cups, which is Cancer energy, and Libra energy about love is supposed to be just and fair. We're supposed to treat other people the way we like to be treated. But some people are defensive to that. That's not their truth. Shadowy Queen of Swords, which I view as Aquarius energy, some people could love being more about themselves, and they kind of indulge themselves, and they think other people should indulge them. They should be the center of attention. Other people, Aquarius energy, represented by the Star card, can be, I think it's more just and fair to make my life more about these things of the world. That's what I love. That's what I think is just and fair. If I have a certain status or image or get to go indulge in these things I like to indulge in, I think that's just and fair. That's living the dream. And we just need to see the truth of it. What kind of drives and motivates people? What do they think is just and fair? Everybody has had free will to choose to align with being more about themselves in the world, or hope and faith and belief in love and make that more of the driving factor in their life. And the truth sets us free. Some people have seen the truth. The Queen of Swords, the feminine figures, can talk about how we think and feel. Some people have already been, grew up, tempered their more ego nature, and are looking at life from a higher perspective, harnessing high vibe, Cancer, Libra, Aquarius energy. There's more to life than just me, or the ego, or the image, or the status, or these things I indulge in. There's a higher truth and justice to aspire to. And it's not just about me. If I'm going to work together with other people, if I'm going to try to bring a dream into reality with them, I should love my job. I should love the people if I'm in a romantic relationship. I should treat them the way I like to be treated. I should be willing to focus on looking at things from a higher perspective instead of getting all caught up in my head and being about my fear or my insecurity or my defensive nature or me or these things of the world, and my image or my status. It should be listening to your intuition is the Moon card at the end of the story. Have we learned to listen to our intuition? But the Moon card can also represent our shadow nature and our fears and our insecurities and some things we like to keep buried beneath the surface. Are we going to try to move forward in jobs, friendships, and relationships, hiding the truth? That we really are more in it for status, ego, image, ourself, how we benefit, that maybe we don't love that job, don't love those people, but it looks good by worldly standards, so I want to stay in it. Well, eventually, people who are more connected in with their emotions and their intuition and have hope and faith and belief in themselves and in their dreams and in love, eventually those people are going to feel betrayed, and they're going to turn their back on people who seem to be wanting to be involved in things for reasons other than truth and love and justice and fairness, or haven't worked through their own fears and insecurities and past pain and heartbreak or ego nature or defensive nature to really work together with them in a more balanced way. So, let's see what's going on in Libra energy. We start out with 2 cards in the 2 rows not showing themselves. We have the Strength card and the Page of Wands card. So the Page of Wands can represent our more fire sign energy of things that we're motivated and inspired by. It can also represent our more immature nature or our more hopeful, believing nature. Oh, and I forgot to tell you that the overarching reason for the reading is the 9 of Cups. So, which also is Pisces energy and kind of like Aquarius. It can have to do with what our dreams are and, what we find emotionally fulfilling, what we love, what we think is just and fair. Well, some people always kind of indulge their more immature nature. And they think it's just and fair, and they think other people should indulge them in their more immature ways of being, probably because they've had other people in their life who indulge them in their more immature ways of being. If they're bossy, controlling, prideful, egotistical, superficial, shallow, whatever, they keep indulging that aspect within themselves. That makes them happy. That's how they like to live their life. That's their idea of living the dream life. And they're looking for other people who agree with them, who will kind of either indulge in their more immature nature, and then they're kind of on the same page, or it could just be motivated and inspired by the world. Let's get in a relationship, work together to look like shining stars in the world. So long as they're in relationship with people where they kind of have similar truths and ways of viewing life, goals and ambitions, well, then that's a just and fair relationship. Other people have tempered their ego and they've kind of tempered their more immature nature. It's not more about me. It's not more about my wants, my needs, my lust, my greed, my pride, my ego. I need to grow up. And they did this work to grow up. And now they align in their fire sign energy with their more hopeful, believing nature. You either harness these energies in a more shadowy way, or a more worldly way, or a more high vibe way. And we just need to see the truth of different people we're in relationship with. Who are the more, some people hide, they're more prideful and egotistical and immature. Other people, we meet all these different people in the world, and we don't know the truth. With these cards not showing themselves, sometimes we're in like workplaces and neighborhoods and got people in the world that we interact with, and we could be trying to get to know them to figure out what is their truth. Are they more self-indulgent? Are they more manipulative, prideful, immature? Are they who they say they are? Have they grown up and matured themselves? Do they temper their more immature nature? Are they more balanced, look at life from a higher perspective? Or are they still caught up in themselves and make their life more about the world? So as people are moving forward in life, people have different people in their life. They've maybe disconnected from some people because they already kind of saw the truth that, yeah, your truth isn't my truth. What you think is just and fair isn't what I think is just and fair. And for the people that had to work through that, maybe some people in their life that they thought were kind of motivated and inspired to move forward with them in a more loving, balanced way, they could have felt betrayed because some of those people, you could have been in relationships or friendships with people for quite a long time, but maybe eventually it just gets to be where how you want to move forward next, and everybody could be becoming independent of an old way of living life and viewing life, and then how you want to move forward, and different things you want to pursue, and people who are more aligned or that you're in relationship with. Sometimes we just have different dreams, and how we want to move forward is different, right? So just because some people aren't in a relationship with us doesn't mean they're awful people at all. Just like we had people who wanted us to, it's just our truth can be different. How we view life can be different. The perspective that we have, how we view ourselves, how we view others, how we view the world, what we believe is possible. But we can be in relationships with people for a long time. We can wish everybody peace and love. And we could have people in our life right now, needless, brothers, sisters, adult children, parents, co-workers, and we all kind of view life differently. Can we all get along, treat each other in a just and fair manner, have different dreams? Yeah, because that is life. Not everybody is going to be motivated and inspired by what I'm motivated by. Not everybody is going to see life from the perspective that I see life, and that's fine. It's just that, and probably the reason why people end up coming to tarot is because there's some people in our life that we really wanted them to kind of be on the same page as us, and we're not anymore, and that can be difficult, and we're kind of trying to figure out why. So sometimes it is because in order to move forward with some people, shadowy Leo energy can be that they're maybe not more aligned with being more authentic and loving, because they could have some things that they need to heal from in their life where they could have felt betrayed, or they're still defensive to love and just being more authentic and just and fair and balanced in a relationship. And it kind of got to that stage in a relationship where they did have to be more authentic. And if they still have issues within themselves and in their life that they still defend, or people in their life or ways of viewing life or something, and they're not ready to move forward in life differently, the moon can represent, like, I view it as like unknown territory, and we can all want to stay in our comfort zone, and some people would like to move forward with different people, but if to move forward with them, they'd have to face some of their fears and look at some of these issues within themselves that kind of have a hold on them, and it could be other people in their life. I'd like to move forward with some of these people and work with these people, but I already have these people in my life, and maybe those people would be defensive to me, kind of stepping out of my comfort zone and facing my fears because they're not ready to step out of their comfort zone and face whatever fears they have. And my primary loyalty could be to these other people in my life. And, that can be difficult. But we could know people who are more manipulative and immature. And for a long time, we maybe didn't see that they were more manipulative or immature, or maybe more caught up in being more about their ego and their image and their status. And that was kind of the driving factor for the relationship. And we didn't realize that. And it takes time to get to know people to kind of find out what really kind of more drives and motivates them and what their kind of truth is, right? But high vibe people, what some people don't know about them, they could see them moving forward in maybe a more emotionally balanced way. The Chariot card is also Cancer energy, and it's tempering your ego nature so that you can move forward in a more balanced way, because otherwise we're kind of indulging poor behavior in ourselves and others, and we're kind of driving our life off into the ditch. And Also, I view high vibe Leo energy as learning to love yourself and give yourself the things that you wish other people would have given you. Maybe some people before were more codependent, is what the pages can represent. And what some people don't know is some people got out of their more codependent energy. And when we were in more codependent energy, we could have looked to other people in the world to love us and comfort us and validate our worth and value. And then we could have gotten in more codependent relationships with people who were happy that we were in more codependent energy, had our fear, had our insecurities, because that's the type of people they like to be in a relationship with, because they're in their own kind of different degrees of shadowy energy. But if during the course of that relationship you kind of became defensive because you could have started to realize that, I might have my fears and my insecurities and I might be a little more codependent, or maybe I didn't even realize it. But as I kind of move forward in something and listening to my intuition, and I could have been doing some of this work within myself to love and believe in myself, and other people in my life could have seemed loving and encouraging, and in a lot of ways they could have been loving and encouraging. But as time went by, the tens can represent kind of completing a cycle. It's kind of like maybe dating someone, and you date them to get to know them. Everybody can kind of have their good boundaries, don't want to rush into something and end up getting betrayed, don't, kind of want to get to the truth. And the Ten of Pentacles also is Virgo energy, which can be about the truth of the foundation that we operate from and what our truth is. And if we're moving forward in some jobs, friendships, and relationships, it kind of is like we kind of have worked through maybe a lot of those things. And then some people are kind of ready in the Wheel of Fortune to become independent of an old way of doing things, just like if you were just dating. And now, from the 9 to the 2 of Cups is the 7 of Cups. We kind of work through, the beginning stages of getting to know each other. And now, are we on the same page? That we have worked through those things, we've had good boundaries, we've gotten to know each other, we've kind of gotten clear about what each other's truth is and how we both want to move forward in life. And if you're on the same page in work, friendship, or relationships, it's kind of having completed one phase that you went through and kind of ready to go to the next phase, right? And if you're both on the same page, or the group is, you all move forward into this next phase of life, which you haven't been there before. It's something new. And some people are doing that right now. They are both either people who are equally kind of operate from their ego and a more, what some people could view, a more immature, self-indulgent way of living life. If they're more on the same page and that's their truth and that's what they want to make their life about, which can be a more worldly, shadowy Cancer, Virgo, Pisces, Aquarius, Sagittarius, Libra energy, where, hey, we think this is just and fair. We're on the same page. Let's do that. This is our truth. We might be moving forward. It could try to be trying to, you can always move forward in life, but if you haven't learned the lessons you're meant to learn, and you haven't really healed and grown and matured yourself, you're kind of moving forward into something new with someone else, but you really are the same person that you were before, right? You haven't healed or grown or matured yourself. There's a way of looking at the world and being that people want to keep moving forward with. If we really had closed out an old way of living life or viewing life, how we viewed ourselves, how we view the world, how we view others that we're in relationship with, we would detach from kind of that old way of life, just like we did going from age 15 to age 18, 18 to 21, and we would become independent of some old ways of viewing life and viewing ourselves and viewing the world to really move forward in life differently. We're not the same person that we were before. There were certain ways of acting, behaving, perceiving life that we don't perceive it that way anymore. We kind of offered love to our foundation to heal from the past, and we've been more inspired to look at life from a higher perspective, and we really aren't the same person that we are. You know, if you were to look at life as like grade 1 through 12, age 1 to age 80, we have a lot of different lessons. It's not like 1 year of schooling in each year of those grades, right? Because 12 divided into 80 is about 7 years, which is funny because the fives and the sevens are the challenging periods in life, but we have lots of little lessons to learn within a certain phase of life. And we might learn a few lessons in one phase of life, but we still have more lessons to learn in that phase of life to really be ready to go to the next phase of life, because we do have to detach from an old, kind of maybe at a foundational way of how we used to view life, that we viewed as victorious and successful, and things that we used to defend and things we used to indulge in, and ways of looking at life that we thought were just and fair, to really move forward in life being a different person. You kind of got to shed an old layer. You've got to look at the things that are the good building blocks to take with, and what were the not so good building blocks that we learned during that phase of life that we should let go of. And some people, it's just that they do have their way of living life, and it's just to find people who want to live their life like that, but they might never be people who want to be more independent, be more emotionally balanced, or really operate from love. I might be more about the ego and the image. I might still be defensive. I still might be kind of full of myself. I might still like to indulge myself in my more immature behavior. And it's just to get in a new job, a new relationship, and hoping it works out okay with those people. But they're kind of the same person that they were, right? Other people, from life experiences they went through, there's a way of living life. They don't want to repeat that pattern. They had moved forward in some ways of living life where maybe they were kind of more defensive of standing up for themselves or believing in themselves, or could have been a more codependent energy to make them feel more balanced, or looking caught up in these things of the world, because we all want these things of the world. We want justice. Libra, also represented by the scales of justice. There's these things that we want in the world, and there's things we want to go indulge in the world, and these things that we think will make us happy. And some people went and did that, but they really hadn't learned to. They could have just been in more codependent energy, or in their more immature fire sign energy, were kind of more just motivated by those things of the world. And they move forward in those things. But as time went by, they could have realized that it was two Pisces cards here, of where you're kind of more caught up in the illusion of people, caught up in the illusion of the world, not seeing the truth, that to have true more stability and abundance in your life is to quit being a more codependent energy and love yourself. And they could have went through some life experiences where they could have kept moving forward in something, and by worldly standards, it would look very victorious and successful. But they could have felt like those things were kind of more manipulating them, or feeling like they couldn't really be more authentically themselves or allowed to shine their light, listen to their intuition. Could have gotten in situations where it was more imbalanced, equally imbalanced, where maybe one person is more hopeful and believing and loving and encouraging, and they could get in a relationship with someone on the opposite end of the spectrum who is could look and have a lot of stability or security, or be kind of nurturing and loving and supportive, but they're kind of more caught up in the worldly dream or themselves. And then as time goes by, as you kind of work through, why would I keep staying in a workplace or relationship where I could feel like I am putting in this work and effort, and I'm inspired to put in work and effort. That's like Virgo energy, putting in work and effort to make it a more just and fair and balanced and loving relationship, to bring this dream into reality. But I kind of feel the other people are kind of defensive to putting in that work and effort. They might want to keep moving forward with me. It could be good for their ego, their image, or their status. But as I work through it, I could kind of feel like, are we ever going to close out this phase to go to the next phase? Because just like human beings kind of growing to their full potential, we want relationships to grow to their full potential. But in order to grow to its full potential, people have to grow up, and they have to temper their ego. They have to work through their own issues to be more authentic and balanced within themselves, have hope and faith and belief in themselves, in others, in love. And sometimes we get in these more mismatched relationships where that's not the case. And people want to move forward with people, but they're defensive to more listening to their more, getting more balance within themselves to make decisions with a little more hope and faith and belief and love. Because it requires them to become maybe independent of an old way of viewing life, or making it more about the ego or the image, or making it more about them, or continuing to stay in their more immature nature or defensive nature. And some of those people could decide that, I don't like that you've changed, that you're not the same person you were when we got in it. I maybe never looked at life that way, and I never was planning to look at life that way, and I was maybe never planning to step out of my comfort zone, and I was never willing to get out of being more caught up about myself or these things of the world or these things I like to indulge in. And somewhere along the way, you did. If it was things you used to indulge in, to make you feel better, or people you used to indulge for status or image, or being in jobs and careers that you didn't really love, and now you want to go get in a job that you really love, or something, you just look at life differently. And what you think is just and fair, different. And then some of those people are kind of defensive to moving forward with you, because in order for them to do that, there's some old ways of viewing life and living life, and maybe people in their life that they could hang out with that would live life the way they have been living it and view life the way they view it. Maybe if they were to become independent of some of those things, maybe they feel some of those people would be defensive to them. Well, you've changed. You're not the same person you used to be. Maybe you are requiring things to be more just and fair and balanced, and we were used to you being more out of balance, and you used to let these things manipulate you, and we used to be able to manipulate you, and we all used to view life this certain way, and now you've changed. And they might be more defensive of living their more authentic life. So they could be willing to keep defending an old way of living life and still just wanting to maybe make their life more about conforming to the world, you know, or letting their ego run their life or their defensive nature run their life. I don't want to do love. I get hurt doing love. I thought we would be in the relationship because of the stability and the security, and can there be love there? Yes, but I don't want to work through my fear or my insecurities. I like the relationship. I want it to stay the way it is. And eventually the other people are like, I feel kind of wounded, is what the Nine of Wands can talk about. I feel like my dream isn't going to come into reality. Your dream this might be your idea of the dream life, but it's not my idea of the dream life. I thought we were all, the Chariot can talk about loving yourself to move forward victoriously, and the Nine of Wands in shadow can be our more immature defensive nature. I thought we were both going to offer love to our more fearful, insecure, immature nature to get out of our defensiveness, to put in work and effort to defend our dream and ourself and being more independent in the world. And I thought we loved each other, and I thought we were both willing to stand up and defend each other and defend this dream. But if some people are more about, kind of realize over time that it's like, well, I guess that's not really my dream. I kind of really am still more defensive or more about looking victorious and successful in the world, kind of making my life, thinking I'll be happy, making my life more about those things than stepping out of my comfort zone, even maybe having to believe that there's more to this world than what the world tries to tell us it's about. And really, that's not my truth. I don't think there is any higher truth or justice. I think we exist. We're on the world. At this time, the world says these are things that are important or valuable and what we should make our life about. And that's what I don't think there's any higher truth to it. And so everybody's at different stages of life. Some people could be hiding. They're more immature, caught up in the illusion of themselves or the world, moving forward, kind of defending their more worldly view of life, moving forward with people in their life who seem to be on the same page as them, at least they think. Kind of defensive to change, defensive to looking at life from any other perspective. They're happy living life the way they live it. And if they have the people in their life that kind of are on that same page as them, those are the people that they're going to defend and not probably going to do life any differently, And other people in the world, could there be people that they would have wanted to maybe be in a relationship with and move forward with also or previously? Yes. And they could be upset that some of the other people in their life were more inspired to listen to their intuition and not just make their life about these things, and did kind of look at life from a higher perspective, did work through some of their past pain, heartbreak, fears, insecurities, to kind of not give up on their dreams. It's like, it's just like at every phase of life that we've went through. When we were 15, we viewed life a certain way. Was it just and fair for us to live our life like that? Yeah, because that's how our kind of emotional maturity level. But then, we face our fears. I want to become more like an 18-year-old. And so then I'm willing to quit acting like a 15-year-old. And we do that throughout our life. And other people could have went through some of those certain stages of life too. Hopefully we don't have people still acting like 15-year-olds out there that aren't 15 years old anymore. But they kind of get defensive to shedding old layers of themselves. It's like, I thought when I became an adult and I got a job and maybe got in a relationship, I didn't have to do that anymore. Why do I need to do it anymore? I could look like a shining star in the world. I could look victorious and successful. It's like, because you're not, our intuition and our higher self, it is like just growing to our full potential. Do you have to? No. Could you make some things more important to your life and really exceed in certain areas of your life? Yes. But it might be kind of out of balance. And, high vibe energy is about balance. But some people, it is maybe more about themselves or these things of the world. And it could be not just being aligned with their more high vibrational, hopeful, believing nature in love. If I have people who are willing to be in a relationship with me, maybe it's not a deep, meaningful relationship. Maybe it's a little more of a, we have these things in common. It has the illusion of love. But if people are defensive to letting their more authentic nature out to play in the world, they are kind of operating more from their worldly, egoic, defensive nature to love. And if they were in relationships with people who wanted them to stand up for and work with their more hopeful, believing, loving nature, and they weren't willing to do it, they could be upset that some of those people listened to their intuition and they weren't kind of willing to just settle for the illusion. If I'm being more authentic and loving and letting my more hopeful, believing nature like out to play in the world, I want to be in relationships with other people who do that. Not people who are still defensive to listening more to love and intuition to guide them, who could get caught up in their fear and their insecurity and say, this looks good. This is good enough. It's like, well, that might be good enough for you, but it's not good enough for me. And go find the people who want to do life like that with you. But again, some of the people that are being in relationship with people who could be in their more worldly, shadowy energy are kind of in more worldly, shadowy energy themselves. And again, it is kind of hiding that they'll be willing to indulge in it and work together with people either because they gave up on believing in their dreams, or that is more what drives and motivates them, is just to be in a relationship, to be in a relationship, to be in a job, to have a job, to put for the image or the status. But it can be things that it really isn't authentically from love. If you are going to build a solid foundation, it has to be built on truth and love, acting with character and integrity, being authentic. And other people are like, well, no, let's build it on these other things. But it's kind of building a foundation on shifting sand, because if it's not based on truth and love, why are people in it? And if someone comes along that has more status, ego, image, more willing to indulge them, more hurt, whatever, that someone can go indulge someone else, it's kind of indulging each other in a relationship until someone else comes along who we think would more indulge us or has more status or image or whatever, right? But some people are like, well, I don't maybe think those people, I think they were wounded. I don't think they'll ever love and believe in themselves. Well, is that why we want people to stay in a relationship with us? They could be loving, nurturing people, but we're kind of taking advantage of the fact that they could be wounded. And so then we're just going to indulge in a relationship, but if they ever really heal and work through their wounding, well, then you'll be defensive to them. So it's like creating the illusion, I'm this emotionally balanced, loving, stable person. Your dream will come into reality with me, but not if you heal. Not if you work through your fears and insecurities, because I haven't worked through mine. If you really want the dream to come into reality, where it's based on truth and love, no. I'm going to be defensive to you, because I'm not doing that. That's scary to me. Or it would require me to look at these things that I don't want to look at. The truth sets us free. Some people don't want to see the truth. Can they be very loving and encouraging and supportive people in relationships? Yes. But they don't ever plan to look at life differently. If they have issues that they like to keep buried beneath the surface, they're not going to look at them. And if you and the people they get in relationship with heal from their issues, well, then they're upset because you did something they're not willing to do. And you've kind of seen through the illusion or the fear or the ego or being more about yourself or more caught up in the world or more caught up. And some of you just saw through the illusion of who they were. And that they really didn't want you to maybe live your more authentic life or invest in your unique talent, skills, and interests to shine your light in the world because they really wanted it to be more about them. You know? So, some high vibe people have gotten in the driver's seat in their life. They've learned who to have good boundaries to. They're putting in, they're no longer more in their ego, no longer codependent. They've completed a cycle. They've become independent of an old way of living life and viewing life. They've worked through the illusion and the emotional confusion of people. They've kind of seen the truth. And they do now listen to their intuition, where maybe more before they didn't listen to their intuition. But this whole life experience has taught them to listen to their intuition about who's who really is working together with me, being authentic, tempered in their ego, is more motivated to work together with people, to try to look at things from other people's perspective, keep things in perspective, don't get caught up in being more about them or their fear or their insecurity or their manipulative nature or their shadowy nature, who keep staying focused on the bigger picture, to work with people to keep kind of loving and encouraging each other to grow to your full potential. And who are the people who might present themselves as being those type of people, but they're kind of defensive to being more just and fair because they do kind of indulge their more immature nature or manipulative nature, and that is their way of operating in the world. And some of those people, if they don't feel they can manipulate you or control you, or you're not more about being immature or egoic and being full of yourself, they don't want to be in a relationship with you because they only like to hang out with other people who are like that. Because you view life differently than they view life. And you just listen to your intuition as you get to know people. You keep maintaining balance within yourself. I offer people the highest energy. I offer them truth and love to work together with them in a just and fair way. If they want to work together with me in that way, great. If they don't, I don't have to try to figure out what's going on in their life. I just know they seem to be defensive to doing that. I wish them peace. Love is the answer. I wish them love. I hope they work through whatever they work through. I'm going to stay focused on staying in the energy of peace and love and healing and balance. And I'm going to keep working with the people who work with me in that way. And the people who don't, I wish them peace and love. I'll keep treating them in a way that I like to be treated. Am I going to invest more time, energy, and effort into them? If I don't have to, maybe, they're a person I work with, but I don't have to go out of my way to involve myself with them, or they're in my community. No. If they've already shown me that they're kind of defensive to working together with me, I'm not going to get up in my ego about it. Like, why doesn't that person value me or appreciate me or want to be my friend? It's like going out and spreading the good news. Who wants to work together in a more just, fair, authentic, loving way? And some people are like, no, that's not my truth. I was like, okay, well then you do you and I'll do me. Or if you're not willing to indulge me in my defensive egoic nature and you keep moving forward, well, then I'll feel betrayed because I was defensive and I was being kind of immature and manipulative, and I thought you would feel betrayed, and then you'd be defensive to standing up for yourself and you'd kind of indulge me in this immature way of being. It's like, I've already been in relationships with people who are like that, and I don't get up in my head about it and get up in my ego. I accept that you are the way you are for whatever reason you are, but that's for you to figure out. And I wish you peace and love, and I'm going to keep moving on. What's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Libra energy that they might not see coming up? Loving people in our life want us to free ourselves from our more past pain, heartbreak, people who manipulate us, to believe in ourselves, to believe in our dreams. And shadowy people don't. You can heal some. You could have some improvements to do, but not me. So, what's coming up for the high vibe people that they might not see coming? The Six of Pentacles and the Libra Justice card. Why? Because of the Queen of Pentacles. In order to authentically move forward in life differently, you have to emotionally learn lessons in life. And some people were inspired from love for themselves to get out of their defensive nature and feeling betrayed by people in their life. And they did this work to look at life from a higher perspective, to offer love to it. Everybody is where they were at. Some of the people were more just, fair, loving, balanced, authentic. Some people weren't. They just were where they were at. Doesn't have anything to do with me. I mean, I do have to take accountability for where I needed to heal and grow and mature myself, because the only person I can change is me. What lessons did I learn from it? How was I defensive? How was I immature? And I can do that work within myself. And the high vibe people were willing to do that. They were willing to see the truth about themselves, where they needed to heal and grow and mature. See that if they could have rejected some more loving people in their life because they had healing and growing and maturing to do, they see the truth of that too. And they also see the truth that because maybe they hadn't healed and they hadn't learned to love and believe in themselves or believe in their dreams, they could have gotten themselves in some relationships with people who are happy. They were in that energy. And some of those people wanted you to stay in that energy. And you're like, no, I'm going to work through it. So, because you were willing to emotionally deal with the truth, we go from the Ten of Pentacles down to the Six of Pentacles, where we could have been tipped more into the world and being more codependent, indulging people. That could have been a way of viewing life like, oh, I'm supposed to be this loving, nurturing person who gives, gives, gives. That was my view of life. But then we learned love is supposed to be just and fair. People are supposed to treat me the way I treat them. I'm supposed to treat them the way I like to be treated. And we had a way of viewing life. Again, from the 10 to the 6 is the 4 of Pentacles. I had this way of viewing life that I thought was just and fair. I could have been more caught up in the world. I could have been more defensive. I could have liked to be a loving and encouraging person to other people who were defensive or more egotistical. That was maybe my comfort zone. But I've let go of that foundation. And I have learned these lessons in life, and I have gotten more balanced within myself. Also, when we add the 1 pentacle to maybe a 5 of Pentacles, we get the 6 of Pentacles. And we could have been just really more tipped out of balance. And it could have been a very mismatched relationship, where one person's very loving, giving, and nurturing. That's what they kind of bring to the table. The other person could have had a lot more of the stability, the security. And, that can happen in employment, right? An employer can think, oh, because we have these things of the world that you want. And just like people in relationships value more what they bring to the table, can feel like it's more just about them and you're supposed to indulge them. Well, that could be an old way of working in workplaces. If you want people to stay in your employment, you better let go of that old way of looking at workplaces and work together with people in a more just and fair and balanced way. And the people who keep thinking, no, I can be defensive and I can be bossy and I can be controlling and I can indulge my more immature ways of being because what I have is more important than what you bring to the table, they're going to have some just, fair, talented, creative, inspired employees who are going to leave their ass. And the same thing happens in relationships. It's like you don't value what I bring to the table, and you think what you have and what you bring to the table gives you the right to be more full of yourself or bossy or shadowy or immature, and that I'm just supposed to keep putting up with it. No, I'm going to let go of your ass to go get the justice I deserve with people who aren't caught up in the illusion of themselves or this old way of viewing maybe relationships or the workplace. I'm going to go find people who are motivated to work together with people cooperatively from love. But for some people, their truth is, I do think if I have more of these things of the world, whatever they think they got, and some of them live in fantasy land, they don't bring that much to the table, but they're just really full of themselves. But that was kind of more of an old paradigm, and it can be, anybody can be full of themselves. Male or female, the more loving person, the more materialistic person. It isn't for someone to be this indulged person in a relationship. It's supposed to be where you work together cooperatively in a just and fair way, respecting what each other brings to the table. It is all a component to getting the justice and balance. But high vibe people, everybody has to kind of be more motivated and inspired by love, or it's not going to work anyway. Can we work to, a workplace, do you have to love them? No. In a workplace, do we work together more cooperatively? Are we encouraging and supportive of each other? Treat each other in a just and fair manner? Yes, then we can keep moving forward to bring a dream into reality. And the people in the workplace who might be defensive, who might look a certain way, might have certain traits or characteristics or education, but they keep thinking they should be more indulged in the relationship, eventually, just like in relationships, employers are going to turn their back to them. You know what? I think we're going to let you go, and we're going to go put out an application to see if we can find someone who really is more motivated and inspired to work with us more cooperatively and authentically, inspired to put in work and effort, not someone who kind of shadowy energy can be where people want to cheat the system and still get the rewards. And people do that in relationships. Well, you should just indulge me. I'm immature, or I'm bossy, or I'm controlling, or I'm egotistical, or self-centered, or it's not really love, it's a status or the image. And the high vibe people are like, then you can go do that with someone else. And because people are investing in getting balanced within themselves, being more emotionally mature, detaching from some old ways of viewing life, seeing what did work, seeing what didn't work, facing their fears, I think you're very stable and grounded and balanced within yourself, looking like a shining star. And then there's other people who their whole life is about creating an illusion. And some people could think you're just creating a better illusion than they are. They've been moving forward. They've been doing this. They've been doing that. But what they don't get is that theirs is more of a mental construct. Well, I act this way. I talk this way. I respond in this way. And I dress this way. And I have this education. And I do whatever. Why does it seem like you're putting on a better illusion than me? Because you're not putting on an illusion. You really are who you say you are. The other people try to act like they're this just and fair and stable and grounded and emotionally nurturing and loving person, but it's really not their truth. It's not coming authentically more from their loving, intuitive nature. It's trying to create an illusion that that's the truth of who they are, to get in these situations or positions, but they still kind of indulge their more immature, defensive, egoic nature. And they could wonder, well, why do people want to work with those people? It's like, because those people are authentically loving and nurturing and encouraging and supportive, and they do put in the work and effort, and you create the illusion that's who you are. But as we keep trying to move things forward, we keep seeing that it's always like being in a place to rest within, but you never work through the issues to really commit to putting in the work and effort and being more authentic and more just and fair. And eventually people get tired of it, and it's like, go find a different job or a different relationship. I am going to work through my own defensiveness of becoming independent of this, and I am going to close out this chapter and become independent, and I am going to heal, and I am going to get out of my codependent, egoic nature, not be in a relationship with people who are, work with people who are more authentic and nurturing and loving. And that's how I'm going to get the justice in the world. And as you move forward in that energy, other people are going to see that that's the energy you're in. Some of them might like to indulge in a relationship with you. That'd be great. But they know that you're not willing to settle for the illusion. And the other people who could want to be in a relationship with you that see it's not going to be about them kind of being more immature or defensive. Could they get in relationships with people who are more willing to indulge them in their defensive nature, their egoic nature, for money or status or image? Probably, yeah. But they won't have a relationship with someone who's in a relationship with them because they really maybe want to be, or they'll just be in a more immature, self-indulgent relationship. And some people are like, I'm done with those. I am going to align with that within myself too. And as you move forward in life, there's always been people that have moved ahead of you, and they're in that energy, waiting for someone like you to come up the path of life. And as you move forward and you're maintaining this energy, some other people come out of things, and you've been waiting for someone like them to come out of those different jobs, friendships, and relationships. There's always other people who are more on the same page as us. But high vibe people don't want to get in a relationship just to heal. If you're still healing and you still have work to go through, can I be a supportive, encouraging person in your life? Yes. Do I want to get in a more involved relationship with you? No. Not until you've worked through it and are out of it. And sometimes there's been people that have been waiting to get in relationships with some of you that are going through this healing stage, but they didn't want to get in a relationship with you either while you were still working through the emotional confusion of an old relationship, or one that you were trying to manifest or defensive of becoming independent of. Both people have to want to manifest what we want to manifest, and if time goes by and they're not moving towards us to manifest that, we need to deal with the truth of it and start manifesting with the people in our life who are. What's coming up for people that might harness some more shadowy, worldly Libra energy that they don't see coming? The Three of Cups and the Five of Wands. Why? Because of the King of Swords. Shadowy people harness this energy in a shadowy way. They have the idea, and I view the King of Swords of Libra energy as kind of like we could align with our more self-protective, defensive nature. Like, you can't go out there and do love. The Three of Cups is Cancer energy, about love and home and family. Because people are manipulative, people are competitive, people are hurtful. I have inner conflict about that. You have inner conflict about that. Let's stay here and be in our more defensive nature, instead of offering love to ourselves, to believe that we could pick ourselves back up again if we go out there in the world and things don't work out. We can heal. we can deal with the truth of it. We'll learn the lesson we were meant to learn. Oh, so when people kind of act that way and are that type of person, that really isn't my thing, or they're not nice people to hang around. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yep. Okay. Lesson learned. I can move on. But some people have never let their more authentic, loving nature out to play in the world. And they're very defensive to love. And some people are more competitive in the world because the Five of Wands is Leo energy. They have a lot of inner conflict about love. They get hurt doing love. They could kind of view themselves that if I look like I have justice in the world, or I conduct myself in a certain way that makes it look like I'm this just and fair and balanced person, people should want to be in a relationship with me and have new beginnings with me. And some people do. But eventually, the people in their life, if those people are inspired by love and justice and fairness, and they've been offering these people love to move forward with them in a more just and fair way, and they have inner conflict with that because they kind of think it should be a little bit more about them. Well, eventually, the people in their life have inner conflict about continuing to take action towards them. I thought we were going to all put this work and effort where it's not just more about you. And I thought you were going to work through your defensive nature, kind of realize that not everyone's the same. And if I'm being loving and encouraging and supportive, why don't you work through some of that defensiveness? And some of them are like, nope, not going to do it. It has to be my way or the highway. If you won't let me live more from my mind than my heart, let me more emotionally manipulate you, stay in my inner conflict, then you can leave. And some of them are going to have some people in their life, whether they're friends or family members, that it's like, I kept thinking eventually you would kind of get out of being more about yourself or the world or your competitive nature, your defensive nature, or your self-indulgent, immature nature, but you keep not getting out of it. And eventually those people are like, you do you, but I'm going to kind of invest my time, energy, and effort into other people and things. And then there's always going to be people in their life that are willing to keep working with them because they could have inner conflict of believing in themselves and believing in their dreams, and maybe they're more emotionally manipulative, more from their ego, more about these things of the world. And if they're on the same page, that is a just and fair relationship. But what's unjust and unfair is to try to trap people who they know are more inspired by love to indulge them in a relationship and use the love that they have for them to try to manipulate them. That's an injustice. And eventually, the high vibe loving people in their life, I can have love for you, but I'm not, and I can be loving and encouraging to you, but I'm not going to keep indulging you in this poor behavior. If you have shown me over and over that's your truth and you think it's just and fair, well, I don't think it's just and fair. So I'm going to become independent of you. And you can go take your viewpoint of what you think is just and fair to go work with some other people. And because some people are doing that, some of the shadowy people are kind of defensive because they wanted to keep moving forward with those people. But the more loving, stable, nurturing people in their life have felt betrayed by them over and over and over, and they did not want to see the truth of it. Well, I keep thinking you should just indulge me, and I could think that because you're a loving person, and the reason I don't align with my loving nature is because you're suckers and people can manipulate you. Well, eventually people quit being manipulated by their loving nature. They get more balance within themselves. Love is to be just and fair. This isn't just and fair. And then the shadowy people who are trying to manipulate and control people feel betrayed that the loving people have moved on and they know they're loving people and they're creative and inspired and nurturing and supportive, and they know there's going to be other people who are going to see the truth of it. And other people will wonder, why didn't you move forward with those people? Well, because I have inner conflict about love, or I think I should be bossy and controlling, and I think it should be more about me, and I refuse to grow up and mature myself. I have a way of viewing relationships that I think is just and fair. And they wanted me to emotionally heal or grow or mature myself. How dare they? Well, I guess they'll go repeat this pattern with someone else. And eventually, the people they will end up in relationships with will be people who harness these energies in a more shadowy way, just like them. Yeah, I'm defensive. I have healing to do. I don't do it. I don't want to see the truth. So I keep using my emotions, my sexuality, my looks, my charm, my status, my power, social clout to manipulate people to get them to stay in a relationship with me. And I think for some, they might feel betrayed because now they're having to be in a relationship with someone who's like themselves and they really wanted to be in a relationship with a loving, nurturing person. But that's not who they are. So that's unjust and unfair. They have gotten justice. They're in a relationship with someone who's like themselves. They just don't like being in a relationship with someone who's like themselves. Someone else who's more emotionally manipulative and kind of bossy and controlling and defensive and maybe in it more for the ego or the image. See, a shadowy person might have all these things of the world, but then they want someone, they think they should stay in the relationship with them more for those things of the world, but love them. And other people were willing to give up those things of the world in order to get the justice they deserve. And now they're in a relationship with someone else who's manipulative, maybe competitive, maybe emotionally cold and detached, but when they go out in the world, they present themselves like these loving, nurturing people, but it's just the illusion of love and that it's emotionally fulfilling. It's really maybe more, it looks victorious and successful by worldly standards. We're defensive to doing love. This makes logical, practical sense. It has these things of the world. It looks like we have what other people have. I'm willing to do the illusion. Well, that's the free will choice. You can do the illusion or you can do the real deal. And some people settle for the illusion and some people don't. So there you go, Libra. I wish you peace, love, and joy. And I wish you peace, love, and happiness. We'll see you next time.